What is going on, everybody? I go by the name of Curry, and I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on SneakerPhetish. All right, guys, today we are taking a look at the latest iteration in the ongoing collaborative deal between Paris Saint Germain, the football team located over in Paris, of course, and Jordan Brand. Now, I've seen some reviews about this sneaker, and the thing about it is, I feel like a sneaker like this, we need to go a little bit deeper than just the aesthetics of the shoe. A lot of times, especially over here in the United States, we tend to look at the viability of a sneaker in its look, its shape, its materials, but a lot of times the meaning of the sneaker and what it means on a macro level, on a global scale, that tends to get lost. So today, I want to talk about the impact of Paris Saint Germain and why the United States was actually the afterthought when it came to the sneaker, not the intended customer, which is why I think the sneaker was a little bit limited. But before we get into the sneaker, let's get into the box. The top of the lid here, of course, maroon and black on the bottom half. This gives you the color theming of the entire sneaker from the box. Big Paris Saint Germain Jumpman branding right in the middle of the lid. Now, dope thing about this box that was very, very intentional from Jordan Brand. Outside of the paper, of course, you get the co-branded Jumpman paper here with Paris Saint Germain as well. But you take that paper off and you see that you have this really glossy AstroTurf, this grass, right inside of the box here, all screen printed digitally inside of the box on all the corners. Jordan Brand wants you to know that this is about soccer or football. And for the sake of using the right word, we'll probably go between soccer and football, so I apologize in advance. But Jordan Brand, again, wanted you guys to know who this sneaker was intended to. It was intended to really, really highlight football or soccer, whatever you want to call it, the Paris Saint Germain team. This sneaker is not about basketball, and I just want everybody to understand that, but it's more so about blending different worlds together to create a lot more visibility for the sport that's really, really popular over in Paris. Let's get into the shoe. Boom. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Air Jordan 4 Paris Saint Germain. Guys, this is a beautiful sneaker. It's a beautiful sneaker. Like, everything aside, let's just take everything aside that we're gonna talk about in a second. I know the sneaker was expensive, all that kind of stuff. We'll get into that. But I'm gonna just tell you guys straight up, this maroon, this white, this black, these materials, beautiful, beautiful sneaker. Jordan Brand killed it with this one. That being said, this sneaker is very, very expensive. Now, there's a reason why the sneaker is expensive, and I'll get into that after we look at the sneaker a little bit deeper, but it's an expensive sneaker. This is a $250 sneaker after taxes. Very, very expensive, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, right? Because we normally pay between $200 and $220 for most of our sneakers these days anyway, right? But I don't know, maybe that's just like the top of what everybody wants to pay these days. So anything over that, everybody's like, oh my goodness, this is a lot of money. But $250, I mean, it's a lot of bread for a Jordan 4. Nevertheless, let's take a little deeper look at the shoe. Then we'll get into why the sneaker means so much. All right, guys, starting with the upper of the sneaker here. Now, it's a standard Air Jordan 4 silhouette. Nothing different about the sneaker in and of itself. But first thing that I am going to point out, materials are on point with these. The white tumbled leather, we actually get that all the way throughout the sneaker. And I mean around the collar, going down the eyelets, in the mud guards, in the counter, in the toe box, everywhere on the sneaker, you get the same quality leather. It was said before, and I agree with this 100%, that sometimes on certain Jordan releases, we get different kinds of leather in different portions of the sneaker. Jordan Brand's a little cheap, and it's kind of a corner that they cut, but a lot of us kind of turn the other direction just because we love Michael Jordan. But at the end of the day, they do cut corners with some of their materials. They'll give you grain leather or kind of that's more synthetic, smooth leather, and then they'll give you some of the tumbled leather in other portions of the sneaker, so it feels a little more premium than it actually is. But everybody does that these days. Look at the Yeezy 700 version 3, right? They weave little pieces of prime knit in with other synthetic fibers to make it seem like it's prime knit in that sneaker. It's not prime knit at all, right? So other companies do it too. It is what it is. We can't beat Jordan up for doing that. Now you got this white mesh netting on the quarter panels on both the lateral and medial side. Underneath that, you have the standard black mesh, really dope. Right beside that, you have the kind of the wings here is what we like to call them. In black, you have the maroon eyelets, which are really, really nice on both the top of the laces and the bottom of the laces by the mud guards as well. Now, right down by the mud guard on the sneaker, you see a little tag here. It says Paname. That's basically Paris. It's a slang term for Paris. If you didn't know, now you know. Now, right underneath that, really nice, soft nubuck material here wrapping around the toe box. It's interesting how they did this because this is a sneaker that is fashioned after a soccer team or football team for that matter. It strikes me as interesting that they wanted to reinforce the toe with this real premium material here. Almost like if you were to play soccer, you needed something to kind of reinforce the toe. But here they reinforced the toe with a premium material. Taking the top down, look at the sneaker here. Again, you get that really nice tumbled leather on the toe box of the shoe. Standard white laces, no extra laces for the $225. That is a downer. Standard Air Jordan 4 tongue tag here, except you get the maroon flight underneath that white Jumpman. Moving back to the lateral side of the sneaker here, you get this really nice maroon hit on the midsole. You got the white underneath that as well. Really nice, very standard. The back of the tongue here, standard Air Jordan 4 upside down tag here in black with the white writing. Moving around to the heel of the shoe, one of the more interesting portions, the first thing that you see straightforward is that big pronounced co-branded Paris Saint Germain with the Jumpman right in the middle. It lets you know exactly who this sneaker is for. One thing I also did appreciate is that right here on the heel tab here, normally this is a lot harder and it actually cuts into my Achilles heel. That's actually one reason I don't like Air Jordan 4s that much, is because this is always such a hard plastic. It always cuts into my Achilles heel. But with this one, it's actually a lot softer. It's a lot more pliable, so this actually should be a lot more comfortable to wear. Now, like I mentioned, that's what you see with the naked eye here, but what you don't see with the naked eye is the 75 that's underneath that heel tab, that rubber heel pull on the back of the sneaker. Now, as you guys may know, 75 is a very important number for Paris. It is the beginning of the zip code and the postal code for Paris. The zip code is 75000 for Paris and the postal code is 75056. So the number 75 begins with pretty much everything that has to do with identifying Paris. I also like this touch of the gold lace tips. To me, the gold represents the trophy that Paris Saint Germain is trying to win right now in the league. The league is actually going on right now, if you guys didn't know. So Paris Saint Germain is actively playing their season as we speak. So if you're not into football, you might want to check them out. It's pretty dope. On the outsole of the sneaker here, standard outsole with the same colors that are pronounced throughout the entire sneaker here. The maroon, the black, the white, the little maroon Jumpman in the midfoot here. Very clean, very nice. And last but not least, one of my favorite details for the Jordan brand collaborations with PSG, the stitched in Easy C'est Paname or Easy C'est Paris tag that's right here on the insole. Of course, you guys may know by now, Easy C'est Paname, Easy C'est Paris, it means here is Paris. And it's actually the fan song, the fight song for PSG, for Paris Saint Germain. So it's their song that they use, it's their phrase that they use, it's kind of their trademark. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the Jordan 4 Paris Saint Germain. Now, of course, we all know that this was a part of a much bigger capsule collection that came out. They had apparel that came out, jerseys that came out. They came out with two other sneakers under Jordan brand, the Air Zoom 92 and the Air Renegade. Nobody cared about either one of those. Really, people just focused in on the retro model, especially here in the United States. Nobody really cared about the Renegades or the Air Zoom 92 because nobody really cares about those. But when it comes to a retro, all the sneakerheads are going to come out. But the problem is that the sneakerheads have their blinders on when it comes to these sneakers a lot of times. I'm guilty of that myself sometimes. So what I really want to do is give people a deeper appreciation for this club and what it means and what this collaboration really means. First things first, Paris Saint Germain is one of the top football clubs in Paris, in Europe for that matter. They are a big deal over there. They actually compete in what's known as Ligue 1, which is the top tier league in all of French football. They really compete with the best of the best out there, and they've won more than 40 achievements and awards ever since their inception. 9 league titles and 1 major European trophy underneath their belt. They win a lot. For the record, in all of the football clubs, there's only 2 that have won that major European title. PSG is one of those. According to Forbes, PSG is the 11th most valuable football club. They are valued at a little over $1 billion. They have a huge following overseas. They have a big following as far as football goes. They are the real deal. And again, that's how they were able to land this incredible opportunity with Nike originally, because PSG used to be with Nike, but then PSG ended up going into Jordan brand as well and coming out with some really dope collaborations. Now, this is not the first time we've been around the rodeo with a PSG sneaker. We've seen the 5s, we've seen the 1s, we've seen the Jordan 1 lows, we've seen the slides. PSG has released a lot of product, but for some reason, the sneakers tend to fall flat. But there's a couple of sticking points that people have that I want people to understand. Number one, why does this sneaker cost so much money? Why is it $225? First of all, this isn't the first time a PSG sneaker's been $225. The Jordan 6s were $225. Pretty much every one of the PSG sneakers has an elevated price tag. Even the Jordan 1s were $110 instead of the normal $90 that Jordan 1 lows cost. So again, this isn't our first time around the rodeo. We just got to pay to play. It is what it is. Now, there's been some speculation that because of the current ownership of PSG, that had something to do with the prices being a little bit elevated to bring a little more money into the club so that eventually they can be less dependent on their current ownership. Now, let me just explain about that a little bit. PSG used to actually be a fan-owned football club. They were fan-owned, they were fan-funded, and they had about 20,000 owners, we'll call them that. But eventually, the club got so big and so valuable that it was taken over by Qatar or whatever you want to call it, that country, a sports investment company. And the owner of that sports investment company for Qatar is actually the ruler of Qatar. But the problem is that there's been a little bit of politics behind the scenes because they feel like he dabbles in oil money, and that oil money is what fuels PSG. So there's been a bit of a push over in the Paris news overseas to try to move away from that, to transition away from that ownership. But that's a big ownership with a lot of money. Jordan Brand is doing what they can to bring more money into the franchise in their way with apparel and sneakers, but they still got a long ways to go. But getting out of the politics and into the sneaker itself, the sneaker sold out. But the sneaker was very limited in the United States. Why? Because we're just not into football like that. When we think football, we are definitely thinking a whole different sport than soccer. So naturally, the demand is going to be more overseas than it is in the United States. Now, again, what that means for people in the United States is that you really got to cop up if you want to get your hands on these sneakers, because now with StockX and GOAT and different platforms like that and everything going so digital these days, pretty much anybody all over the world has access to these sneakers. Now, Nike Sneakers app itself is a region-locked app. So somebody in Europe isn't going to compete with you to get your hands on these. But again, allocation is low in the United States because Jordan Brand knows that people aren't into football like that. So if you get your hands on them, and especially with the resale culture being what it is these days, they're going to price it high because people overseas still want to get their hands on them, and they're willing to pay whatever the amount is in euros. They're willing to pay that to get this sneaker. So as a consumer, if you want to get your hands on these, you got to compete not just with the resellers here that are buying everything up, but with the people that may have the money overseas to pay the $300 plus for this sneaker. So that may make a little bit more sense why it seems like this particular sneaker has a little more demand on it. Again, I think it's a lot more wearable, and I think that that's a part of it as well. It's a cleaner colorway. Let's be honest, the PSG 6s were trash. The PSG 5s were okay, but it's a 5, so a 4 is always going to be a little more popular than a 5 is anyway. The PSG 1s weren't really all that, honestly. I personally like the lows better than the highs. So this honestly has been one of the most popular PSGs I've seen in some time. But again, it's a PSG. And at the end of the day, people really are focusing on not that and not that, but they're just focusing on this part of the sneaker as well, just the colors and can I put it with a nice fit. People tend not to really care about the story of PSG or what PSG is doing, and I think that that makes the shoe kind of depreciate in value a little bit because people don't really get it. But what I need you guys to understand is that PSG over to France and Paris is honestly like a lot of our most popular sports teams here in the United States. Y'all know that soccer is big, right? And it's by no coincidence that FIFA just came out, the new game, and PSG is in the middle of their playing season when they drop this collection. This is a big deal overseas. I say all that to say this. We have to make sure that we're looking at these sneakers for what they are instead of what we want them to be. And that's a problem that we tend to have in sneakers these days, is that we want sneakers to be a certain thing. We try to compartmentalize sneakers into what we want them to be instead of what the sneaker was created to be. This sneaker is not about basketball at all. This is about blending a certain sport with an iconic figure like Michael Jordan and putting an iconic sneaker with an iconic team or what they hope to be an iconic team to come up with a really, really dope collaboration. That's what this is about. And they had to really drive that point home by literally putting grass inside of the shoe because they know that at the end of the day, especially in the United States, we were just gonna look at these as Jordans. We don't really care about PSG, Paris Saint Germain. We don't really care about all that kind of stuff. We just care about the sneakers. Jordan Brand is trying to expand people's horizons and make product that is globally attractive, not just here in the United States for the sneakerheads that wanna rock J's all the time. It's bigger than us. So if you find yourself being one of those types of people that's like, oh, this shoe is trash, this is what it is, ask yourself, why is this sneaker trash? How come you don't like it? Because I saw a lot of people saying that the sneaker was trash. Well, why is it so bad? Because we have no problem paying $220 for a Yeezy version 2 over and over and over and over and over. We had no problem paying $272 with tax for the Union Air Jordan 4. So why at $225 is this sneaker such a big deal? Now for me, I just wish that for $225 we got an extra set of laces. That would have been really nice. I would have gone for some maroon laces with these. I think that would have been kind of fly. But is the sneaker justified by the price? Yeah, I think that the sneaker is actually justified by the $225 price tag. It's a co-branded sneaker with a huge team. Think about it this way. If Jordan Brand did a collaboration with an NBA team or an NFL team, an official collaboration, say with the Chicago Bulls, for instance, if they did a sneaker and it had a big Bulls logo on the back or something like that, right? You got to increase the price on the sneaker because demand is probably going to go up on it. And you got to make sure that everybody is making a little bit of money in the process. Paris Saint Germain has to make their money. Jordan Brand has to make their money. So in collaborations, naturally the price is going to go up a little bit anyway. We've seen that across the board with a lot of different sneakers. Air Jordan 1 mids rose in value and they rose in retail price. Why? Because they were collaborative. So the artist got a piece of the money. The collaborator has to get a piece of the money. So when you have these collabs like this, and this is a collab, the price is going to go up a little bit. Just is what it is. But for what you get for the price increase, this really nice material here around the toe box, the nice tumbled leather here all around the sneaker, full tumbled leather on the shoe here, the packaging, honestly, it's worth it to me. I think that it's worth it. So if you want the sneaker, rock it, appreciate it, do a little research about Paris Saint Germain, follow their games. It's actually pretty entertaining to watch if you're into that kind of thing. So don't just rock the sneaker for what it is, but really dig into the stories that they're trying to tell with these sneakers. That's my advice to you guys. You can take it or leave it. All right, guys, listen, that's pretty much all I got to say about these. Now it's time for you guys to sound off down in the comments and let me know what you guys think about the Air Jordan 4 Paris Saint Germain. Were these on your comp list? Were you able to grab a pair before they sold out? Again, they were pretty limited. I was actually able to catch a really small first come, first serve at a local City Gear here. So salute City Gear for that one because they only got a few pairs in the store. So hopefully, if you were trying to get your hands on a pair, you got your hands on a pair because the prices are starting to go up on these. Or if these were a complete hard pass for you, sound off down below and let me know why they were a hard pass for you. I'd really like to know that as well. Let me know. Of course, right down in the comments, make sure that you click on that subscribe button so we can welcome you into the Sneaker Fetish family to make sure you don't miss out on any more heat that comes through like these because I guarantee you, I got a lot more heat on the way. As always, I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on Sneaker Fetish, taking a look at these with me, unboxing them with me for a couple of minutes. I go by the name of Kari. This is the Air Jordan 4 Paris Saint Germain, and until next time, I'm out.